everyone. I am Zilola Safarova, the Associate Professor of Buxdu State University Foreign Language Faculty. So today's our topic is components of art of speaking. And during our lecture, you will find out information about what are the most important components of speech. What things should you consider while preparing public speaking? What are the best ways of gaining attention and interest of public? And how would you start your speech if you were a speaker? So as we know, the main part of public speaking is of course introduction. What things should be considered while preparing the introduction of our speech? In a proper introduction, you should capture the audience focus, provide background information, ensure credibility, explain the purpose of the speech, and provide an overview of the key points. And of course, don't forget, the primary purpose of the introduction is capture the audience attention and interest. One of the techniques that can be used in our introduction is use of quotes. One method of starting a speech and gaining the audience attention is using a famous and relatable quote. This approach can give your audience context for your topic and connect it to something they recognize. For instance, if you plan to give a speech on a political topic, you might use a famous quote about your speech subject. It will increase the interest of your audience. The second way is telling a joke. You might also tell a joke or use a humorous approach to engage the audience. Telling a joke or making light-hearted conversation with your audience can allow you to connect with the people who are attending your presentation. If you use this approach, choose an appropriate joke that relates to your topic. And be careful, if you are not good at making jokes, you shouldn't use this technique. The next way is find a commonality with your audience. You might introduce yourself by highlighting what you have in common with your audience. This can encourage them to pay attention to your speech. For instance, if you are speaking at an industry convention, you might explain what you do in that industry to show your audience that you share their priorities and concerns. Another way is asking a survey question. So this method for starting your speech can help you to engage the interaction of your audience. Here you might ask a little question and have the audience answer by a show of hands or calling out answers. This can encourage audience involvement and engagement in your speech. Another technique is pose a problem. When you start your speech, you can also pose any kind of problem related to your topic. As you deliver your speech and reach the conclusion, offer a solution to your problem you posed in your introduction. For instance, a speech or presentation on climate change might start with a statement of the problem using firm declarative statements. At the end of your speech, so you can return to this problem to gather the answers from your audience. Another effective way is offering a relatable statistics. By offering a statistics that relates to your topic, so you can choose a statistic to both relevant and surprising can pique the audience interest. For example, a presentation on gun safety might start with a statistic showing the high rates of accidental shootings in the audience city or state. It can also help you to get the attention of your audience. Telling a fictional story, you might also begin your speech with a story that relates to your topic. This story can be completely fictional or have some basis in reality, as long as it highlights some of the key points you plan to make in your speech. For example, if you are giving a speech on the value of the art in school, you might create a story about a fictional student whose arts education helped him to become successful in other areas. it can also be beneficial for your learners. And another technique that can be used in introduction part is describing a personal experience. Describing a personal experience you had that relates to the topic can engage the audience attention and show your experience with the content in your speech. You can also use this approach to connect with your audience and invoke certain emotions. For example, a guest speaker at a cancer research benefit might describe their own experience with cancer treatments at the beginning of their fundraising speech. There are some examples that we can use in our introduction, like shocking statistics. 23% of Facebook users check their account at least 5 times daily. This kind of information can make our audience to think about the topic. Or another way is using a narrative. The example is, there was a time in my life when I decided to quit my job, sell my house, and travel Europe by backpack. One day I met the most fascinating person who altered my perspective on life. Or another example is mentioning recent or past events. Or instructing your audience to take an action, like close your eyes and think of, incline your head and observe, so these things can also provide the interaction with your audience. You can also use comparative sentences, or you can compare two things by using metaphorical expressions, like life is like a box of chocolates, you never know what you will get. Quote. The use of quote can also be very effective in your introduction. For example, well-behaved women seldom make history. This is a quote told by famous political leader Theodore Roosevelt. Or an example for the use of humor. Knock knock, in all seriousness, if you are not funny or do not have a knack for telling jokes, you might want to avoid this one. You should be careful for using humor or jokes because in other way, so you can be accepted as not being serious. Pose the rhetorical question can also be one effective method. For example, what is the purpose of life? This question can be given at the beginning of your introduction. The next important part of our speech is main body. The body of your speech is a point at which you go into full detail about each of your main points. The body is where you tell your story, organize your thoughts into a cohesive, logical flow of ideas. Each main point of your speech should support your speech's purpose. Use a variety of examples to illustrate the main points of your speech, from research, facts and figures, to personal anecdotes and references. Don't be afraid to let your personality come through. Know your audience and tailor your approach accordingly. The body of your speech should be creative and engaging. And the last main part is conclusion. The conclusion of your speech summarizes your purposes and main points while leaving a lasting impression with your audience. Use your conclusion as an opportunity to summarize the main points of your speech. Don't repeat the main points word for word. Rather, paraphrase the key themes and arguments you have just presented. Consider ending your speech with an additional anecdote or quotation that captures the theme of your speech. Don't introduce any new points or supportive evidence into your conclusion, as it will confuse your audience. And the last one, it is also one of the important steps. While write your conclusion at the same time as your introduction. In this case, you will be sure that you are not adding an extra new information to your conclusion, and they will coincide with the content. Your introduction and conclusion should complement each other. We should mention one more important thing. While making a speech, we use transition words which help our audience to understand at what step we are. There are different types of transitions often used in speech. They might be temporal transition words, using words like before and after, or another group of transitions can. We should also mention about the role of transition words in our speech. These are group of words that can show our audience in what place we are when we turn from one point to another. There are different types of transitions often used in our speech. For example, temporal transitional words. They are using words like before or after, or another group of transitions can be equality words. They highlight points of equal importance like in addition or moreover. Causality. Using these words can show cause and effect of our ideas. Another group of transition words are compare and contrast words. Using these words and phrases that compare one part of the speech to the next, like while or on the other hand. Introductions and summaries are also types of transitions and let listeners know what a person will be speaking about and offering a way to understand the important parts of speech. All of these group of words are very important to achieve cohesive speech. Another important thing that we should mention here is credibility. This is crucial to your speech success. Credibility demonstrates to the audience that you are qualified to speak on the subject. It provides them with a reason to trust and believe the information you are sharing. Consider, why am I credible to speak to this audience about this topic? Or what qualifications do I possess? What prior education do I possess? What research and courses have I completed? The answers to any or all of these questions can enhance your credibility. Your internal credibility consists of the knowledge and experience you possess. External credibility refers to the use and citation of sources that the audience deems reliable. Your credibility should be stated in one or two concise sentences. So this was all for today. Thank you for your attention. Bye.